looking for Thuram, just forced a bit wide. Marcus Thuram! What a start to life in the Milan derby for Marcus Thuram!
Hello and welcome to episode 92 of Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake
and Matt,
and we're going to be covering the entirety of Matchday 4 in this episode. It was an action-packed weekend along with an action-packed week as the Champions League kicked off, and we got to witness a Provedel goal.
Yes, 94th minute, the number that he actually wears on his shirt, and he's also 194 centimeters in length.
Born in 1994 as well.
Yeah.
And he scored in the 94th minute, so 94 is his number, this guy.
There's no quite feeling as a spectator of a neutral game than when a team is dying for a goal. That's the last minute, keeper goes up for a corner and he ends up getting himself a goal. And the goal in the manner in which he got it, of course, last minute of the game, great header. Apparently he was quite a striker at a younger age. That's what I've been hearing now. But you hear all kinds of shit now.
Yeah, apparently he was a striker at Pordenone's youth academy, where he scored 27 goals in 2008, 2009. Then the season after changed to a goalkeeper and was picked up by Udinese shortly after.
Yeah, he'll probably still start as a striker for Pordenone.
Probably start as a striker as Lazio next game, I'm telling you. The way Immobile played.
Immobile looked like a 67 rated player on FIFA in that game. I swear to God, man. That's exactly what he looked like.
And I was saying, dude, Provedel's form and technique was too perfect. It was too flawless for a goalkeeper to make that run.
There was to be fair, yes, the run was amazing. I mean, no one picked him up. It was such a direct, diagonal run. Luis Alberto did put it on a plate for him, a spectacular, cross shot. That kind of thing. If you get a header, if you get a touch on goal, then it's going in. But he put himself in the right position, man. He had the balls to stay up after they lost their chance as well.
Yeah, they were all calling for a handball. The defense were probably a bit distracted. Suddenly no one's marking the massive giraffe in orange.
God.
And he just dunks on them against Oblak.
Yeah, man. And the save he got before that, the one-on-one to seal the 2-0 victory for Atleti. Brilliant, brave stop by Provedel. Man, he must be feeling so good right now, and I'm happy for him, man.
Yeah, and Luis Alberto's finally some help. It takes the keeper finally to convert one of my crosses. But yeah, guys, our goal of the week, moving on, was not actually Provedel's, but it was Thuram's goal against Milan in the 5-1 demolition of the Rossoneri. He scored an incredible goal, bro. I wonder if you've prepared an eloquently worded description for this one.
I mean, not particularly. I think when there are so many goals in one game, you start losing your not creativity, but you try to keep them brief. But what he basically did over here is there was a long ball by Dumfries from the right to the left. It was a bit too long for Thuram, so he didn't quite pick it up in the middle of the pitch, in the middle of the box and slot it in, but he had to go wide outside the area. He was holding onto the ball in the corner of the box as Shaw was backing up on him. He just cut inside, and I've never seen a ball hit the top corner that directly and that accurately before. It was a brilliant finish by Thuram in what was the highlight of this weekend. Naturally, Derby Della Madonnina is the highlight of the weekend in world football. Unless there's an El Clasico or Celtic Rangers derby or anything of that sort. But for Inter to get away with that 5-1 victory, that is the highlight of this week. That is going to consume a lot of conversation, I think, because we finally got to see two teams head into a derby, both in full flow and great form. But it just showed us that worlds apart at the moment.
Yeah, it couldn't have been clearer. Of course, we'll get into the game in more detail shortly. If this is your first time listening, I swear to God, we have structure. This is just the part where we open up, break the ice a little bit, get comfortable, warm up our voices. I mean, there were many honourable mentions for goal of the week. There was Luis Alberto's amazing curler from outside the area, Cristante's rocket from outside the area, Bonaventura's volley was very nice too. Vlahovic had 2 expert goals as well. Politano had a good goal.
I liked Politano's volley a lot, man.
Raspadori had a good goal as well.
Yep.
If you disagree with our goal of the week, if you're listening on Spotify, you can scroll down to the bottom and vote on the poll. If you're listening on YouTube, you can go down to the comment section and leave a comment. If you're listening somewhere else, you can go fuck yourself.
Exactly, guys, it's not that hard.
Yeah, there's not much we can do about that.
Go somewhere, find a nice quiet room and go fuck yourself.
You go do that, and while you're at it, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram to stay up to date with our snippets and to interact with us as well. Thank you very much. Guys, if you would like to support our content also, that is $3.99 on Patreon, and you will become a part of the family, be added to our WhatsApp chat and all that. The last of the formalities is a fun one.
Don't forget, while Jake is at it, don't forget to follow his personal account on Instagram and give him a blowjob while you're at it. That's the amount of shit he's asking for here.
Yes, please. I mean, these are... It's part of the... SOP, unfortunately.
Standard
do this,
procedures.
do this. But anyway. Yes, our Fanta Culture League has kicked off, and it's fun as fuck. The girls were off to a bang. They had Vlahovic, they had everyone and their mother who scored, but they happened to be a man down. Looks like taking Reiner, Yankto, Burabia, El Sharawi, none of those guys played.
Hey man, they had their reasons for taking who they took. But a lot of their guys, they just simply didn't play. They're actually unlucky because Illich got injured in what I believe was the warm-up, if I'm not mistaken.
Shortly before the game.
They had a Çalhanoğlu goal, bro. They had Doppietta. Who was their Doppietta by?
Vlahovic.
By Vlahovic. Yeah. They had who did you say scored for them?
Vlahovic.
No, before that.
That's the only one I know.
Vlahovic, Çalhanoğlu, there's someone else.
Did they take Chiesa? I don't know.
No, I had Chiesa.
Okay.
Chiesa
I'm not sure, but they were lit, and the Renegades, the team that Taco's team, Lewis's team. He picked up the players after the auction was done, so he was dealing with scraps over there. He picked up the likes of Mazzitelli, Cristante, Derun, who all happened to contribute to a goal this week. Mazzitelli getting 2, and he destroyed. He's currently first in the league. If you'd like to keep up, guys, we're posting screenshots of the league table and the results on Instagram on a weekly basis. Matt and I both won. That's the important thing.
Exactly. Hopefully that'll become a bit of a theme over here, that we just simply can't stop winning. It'll really prove our ball knowledge, I guess. But before we get into each individual match, guys, I'll do the classic rundown. So on the Derby Della Madonnina, Inter got away with a 5-1 victory against Milan, their biggest victory in the derby since 2009. Juventus beat Lazio 3-1, reminding us that they are one of the strongest teams in the league. Genoa 2, Napoli 2. Genoa actually had a 2-goal lead over there, but Napoli managed to fight their way back thanks to Raspadori and Politano, both substitutes. Fiorentina 3, Atalanta 2, in what probably was the tightest affair this weekend. Roma 7, Empoli 0 was the not so tightest affair this weekend. Frosinone 4, Sassuolo 2. Sassuolo, again, we're in the driver's seat in that match, but Frosinone going forward, they're relentless and fearless. Monza 1, Lecce 1. Lecce remain undefeated. Verona 0, Bologna 0. Salernitana 0, Torino 3. A great showcase of how far Torino have come. Salernitana still have a lot of work to do if they want to stay in the division. Cagliari 0, Udinese 0 in quite a tight affair.
It was going so well, bro, until Cagliari, Udinese, Verona, Bologna didn't get the memo. So many amazing goals and high-scoring games, and 2 0-0s out of the bat. Boom.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a 7-0, there's a 2-2, a 3-1, a 5-1, a 3-2, a 4-2. This is like a crazy week of football. And thankfully, since it was the girls' first time being on Fanta and watching the games, they simply watched 90% of the matches with us. Yeah. So it was crazy. A whole weekend watching Calcio. But let's start things off, guys, with Inter 5, Milan 1 in the Derby Della Madonnina. If you guys know me and Jake, you'll know that we did not enjoy watching this match, but For this podcast, naturally, we will remain neutral. Milan were coming off a 2-1 away victory against Roma, whilst Inter were coming off a 4-0 win to Fiorentina. Not quite the momentum that they were coming off of, however, because this was just before the international break, which shifted players' focus elsewhere, essentially. This is the first time in history that Inter have won all 5 of the last editions of the Derby Della Madonnina. Milano truly is blue at the moment. This was not just a local derby, but also a head-to-head battle of top 2, if we can call it that so early on. The only remaining teams with a perfect record after 3 rounds, as each teams had 3 victories. Both made changes in defence, as Acerbi made his season debut while Fikayo Tomori was suspended and Pierre Kalulu injured. Olivier Giroud shook off an ankle knock from international duty to actually start the game. And obviously play 80 minutes of the game and then play 90 in the game after. Inter lined up in their classic 3-5-2 formation with Sommer in goal and the backline of Bastoni, Acerbi and Darmian. They had DeMarco out on the left and Dumfries out on the right, with a midfield three of Henrik Mkhitaryan, Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Nicolo Barella. They had Lautaro Martinez and Thuram up front. For Milan, it was their 4-3-3 formation, their signature 4-3-3 formation this season, with Mike Maignan in goal, RIP. A backline of Calabria, Kier, Thiaw and Theo Hernandez, with a midfield three of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Radek Krunic and Tijani Reinders. They had Pulisic and Leao flanking Olivier Giroud. Now it comes to the play-by-play, I mean, yes, Pioli was right to point out that Milan did so well in the first opening 4 minutes. However, it was the 5th minute where Inter opened the scoring through Henrik Mkhitaryan. It was Di Marco, whose low shot cross into the box just needed a touch by one of the Nerazzurri shirts, to which Mkhitaryan obliged. It was Thuram who started the attack down the right, absolutely out-muscling Thiaw to the ground and getting the initial ball in over there. In the 38th minute, our goal of the week took place, which gave Inter a 2-goal advantage. It was Thuram who cut inside past Thiaw for the tira gira and nailed the ball right into the top corner for our goal of the week. You know, the halftime came up, obviously a couple of words of wisdom here and there by both managers, and in the 57th minute, Milan actually pulled one back through Leao. Giroud played Leao through very well with his back towards goal, and Leao used the space well to break through and slot in past Sommer. 69th minute, however, just 13 minutes later, Lautaro was allowed far too much time on the ball around Milan's area, and he spotted the run of Henrik Mkhitaryan at the far post, whose slightly deflected shot off Thiaw fell into Maignan bottom near corner. You'll see how in all of 3 of Inter's goals so far, Thiaw's name was mentioned. In the 79th minute, Theo Hernandez gave away a penalty as he looked to volley the ball to safety with a vicious swipe, but arrived second to Lautaro, landing his kick on the Argentine, and a definite penalty over there. Milan's best friend stepped up, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, and went straight down the middle as Maignan dove left. 4-1 to Inter, 93rd minute, and Frattesi just rubs salt in the wounds, makes it 5. Mkhitaryan exposed a ridiculous gap in Milan's defence and played a through ball to Frattesi, who slid in and beat Maignan. 2 goals for Italy and 1 in the derby, all in the space of a week. His life must be almost as sweet as Providel's right now.
Even better than that, and to top it all off, he made the cover art of Serie A Spotlight.
Oh yeah, he did. Of course he did. Yeah. Of course he did. And he got, painted, crafted, I would like to say, by one of the finest artists known to man, Jake Fenech.
Yes, that's me.
Congratulations, bro. There's 1,000 questions I can ask you about this game, but just give me your take.
As Jake would say, where the fuck should I really even start?
I got hose, sorry.
Yeah. It was bad. It was really bad. Everything that we'd seen go wrong in the derby went wrong again.
For Milan.
Yes, for Milan. Pioli was asked prior to the game, what do you make of having lost the previous 4 games against Inter? And he said, I don't care about the previous 4 games. I only care about the one in front of us. Bravo. But maybe he should care a little bit. No, I watched Beder's video on this, and
shout out Beder.
I must say, incredible Beder ball on YouTube. He is so observant and passionate and smart, and honestly, he's a pleasure to listen to. And he's funny as well. But yeah, he highlighted that there was plenty of evidence in the previous tapes, in the previous games, that this was not going to work against Inter, this approach.
Absolutely.
Yet Pioli changed absolutely nothing in the approach to this game. Now, granted, you can say, okay, Tomori was injured, and then his substitute Kalulu got injured, so he had to play Kier. Okay, everyone freaking out. Oh, how's Kier gonna cope with all that pace of Thuram? How's he gonna cope with this and that and that? I don't feel safe. Turns out it was the golden boy Malik Chow who was at the center of each goal of Inter, essentially, pretty much there.
As was Romagnoli a few seasons
exactly.
back.
And that's what was highlighted. You have Romagnoli against Lukaku getting exposed in the exact same position. You have Tomori getting exposed later on in the exact same position, all while they were being rated very highly, these players, you know. And now all of a sudden Chow, who hasn't put a foot wrong since he debuted for Milan, and all of a sudden he's getting absolutely destroyed.
Look,
and you tell me,
man.
okay, it's a mismatch. Thuram against Chow. Okay, I disagree, but okay, fair enough. But are you telling me that Leao against Darmian isn't a mismatch? Because Leao against Darmian, you watch the goal of Leao, Darmian's face after Leao beats him, you can tell he can't believe they play the same sport.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Inter set themselves up for that to be a one-off situation. Whereas with Milan, every single attack that Inter had, every time Inter gave Milan that false sense of security, stole the ball and clapped, they managed to expose the weakness. They managed to go 2v2, their strikers against the centre-backs, man for man, the same tactical error, the same imbalance in the game, and they absolutely destroyed Milan. Quite possibly their easiest fixture of the season.
Oh, 100%. How is it that every time Milan pick up the ball to attack against Inter, they are quite literally attacking against 11 men who are defending. And when Inter decide to attack Milan, they're against 2 or 3 individuals. It's always the case. You see Milan going forward. You see Lautaro and Thuram over there, bro. You see them leading that shape of 10 men shifting consistently together as a figure, defending, attacking. It's just one shape constantly shifting. It's ridiculous. And then every time Inter attack Milan, it's scattered. It's all everywhere. You've got Tiani Reinders. I think this is the first time that we saw Milan's midfield exposed as a result of a lack of balance, so to say. The fact that you've got Krunic, who is the balance, apparently. You've got Loftus-Cheek, who is very box-to-box, and Tiani Reinders just played in such an offensive role in this game. No fault of his own for not tracking back, I would reckon. I think the tactical setup had him so close to the striker. He was nowhere when it came to defending. And then if you have one of the other midfielders tracking back, for example, or slightly out of position, you suddenly have one man and then the 2 centre-backs.
Yeah.
That's the way the game went for the entire thing, man.
It's safe to say that the 4-2-3-1 worked against Inter before, because you have Kessie, who used to do the work of 2 midfielders, of 2 men. The work of 2 men, Kessie did. Now, you can tell me, all right, whatever, Milan have moved on, they've upgraded in the department, whatever, but you can't take away you can't take away the fact that Kessie, for the system, was absolutely perfect, because you have... Okay, Theo Hernandez bombs forward, and he's encouraged by Pioli and the team to bomb forward. Obviously. Obviously, he's encouraged to bomb forward because he's incredible going forward.
Leao, I think, isn't allowed to track back.
Track back, exactly.
I think if he tracks back, he's going to get fucking assaulted in the dressing room.
But honestly, you have a player like Leao, he doesn't track back, because why would you waste a second or a single... Don't waste any of that guy's energy on anything else other than trying to create goals, because he's so good at it. Fair enough. But there's a hole. There's a massive hole.
Yeah.
There's a massive hole in that left back position where Thuram...
And Reinders is on the left as well.
Exactly. Reinders is pushing up. He can't defend. Okay, this is how Bidere put it. He said, you have Kessie, who's a great defender. Okay. You have Tonali, who's a good defender. And then you have Reinders, who, for all his qualities, he's been brilliant so far since joining, but he's not a particularly good defender.
Not so that he's not a good defender, it's that he doesn't defend.
Completely. He doesn't defend.
He must be instructed.
Yeah, and
to defend.
there are many factors, bro. I can rant if you want.
No, I mean, look, I think we've established the weak points that Milan had in this game. I think one that also should be mentioned is if something isn't working, change it quickly. We've learned that from all 4 fixtures against Inter last season, including 2 devastating losses in the Champions League semi-finals. We see Giroud being played for the entirety of the match, and it's the same system that isn't working, the same long balls to him to flick down, so on and so forth, and they simply weren't working in this match. Not to say that they never work, because they do work. It's not working in this match. We have a plan B, we have a very different striker. Milan have got Noah Okafor, who they can bring on, but that's enough about what was particularly wrong about Milan.
I do have 2 more points. Huh?
Go for it, please.
So first of all, your Giroud point, totally agreed 100%. Love Giroud to bits, one of my favorite players. Bought his kit last season. I will remember him fondly, and I will speak to my children and grandchildren.
And he can still do it, and he's still a perfect striker for Milan's system.
Yes. The problem is you can't have a top European team. A team that made the semi-final of the Champions League last season and won their domestic league the season before. You can't have their strongest 11 featuring a 37-year-old striker up front.
It's not even the fact that he's 37. It's the fact that he's 37 and he's uncontested and he's being played 2-3 times a season. And fuck me, dog, because we've had
a week.
As in a week we've had a summer as Milan fans saying, finally, bro, every hole is getting filled in and it's being sorted. Matchday 4, bro. Matchday 4. And we're like, where was that striker signing, man? Matchday 4.
I'm very surprised because they were super efficient. The management was super efficient when it came to recruitment. They recruited everyone really early, and then suddenly on the last day, it's like they remember that yes, no, Okafor isn't the striker we wanted. We want a different profile. So they pushed for Taremi. Milan were close to getting Taremi. Everyone was hyped. Taremi would have been fantastic. Don't get me wrong. All of a sudden, they're panic buying Jovic. You know, granted, Jovic isn't terrible. Okay, I'm not a big fan, but he's not terrible. But he didn't have a pre-season with Milan. He joined on the last day, deadline day. So he's not really the striker. So Milan are in this situation now where they're playing at Derby and they're playing in the Champions League 4 days later.
Madonna. 0-0 draw against Newcastle.
Yeah, 0-0 draw against Newcastle, and they're playing their 37-year-old striker for
90 minutes.
90 minutes each game. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And also Calabria joining the midfield is effective, it's nice, it's modern, it's good to watch, but don't do it against the best counter-attacking team in Europe.
With Di Marco on his side, obviously.
Are you mad?
Is this Inter in their final fucking form, bro? They're so ridiculously strong now. I don't know if it's just because they've got Milan's number. But the way they move as a team is so incredibly unique. With their formation, with the 3-5-2, the way they shift and transition and the way they counter and the way they just constantly have these different triangles placed around the pitch, and you've got this one-touch passing, really fluid players in the midfield, really just these tireless workhorses with great output on the down the flanks. You've got two
Bastoni becoming a trequartista midway through the game. It's crazy.
What is this? My God, man. My God, I would hate to be second best to these guys. Because what can you do to stop them when they're having a game like that, man?
And they'll make you think you're dominating. They make you
think
you have a good game.
Yes.
You'll be like, this is going well. We've had the ball. They've not really been doing much. Suddenly you're dispossessed and they're behind you. They're behind you and they're in and they've scored. And they score their chances. They're so efficient. What was it, the 4th minute? They scored the first one?
There was one of the strangest, one of the most infuriating goals I've ever seen. It was when Manyan, God fucking bless him, held onto the ball for a long time. For a long time. He went to ping it upfield. It went straight to an Inter player and they countered and scored directly from it. So it's like, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. The fact that you can't give these guys you can't let them smell blood. They're constantly circling you like sharks. Like, sure, you can have the ball, pass it around. It's okay. We've got you contained right now. You're in a box. You could play the ball around in that box all you want. The second you leave that box, you're fucked.
Yep.
So I think we're seeing Inter in... This was, just to say it, as I put it when I predicted Milan to win the league, whatever, pre-season, I said Milan will be off to a slow start. They're a brand new team. They are a brand new team. I don't blame the players for this performance. I think they will get better as the season progresses. Right now, what worries me about Milan is that Pioli just doesn't seem to have an idea of how to tackle this Inter team, which is concerning considering he's been there for 4 years. We can't put the blame on the players over here. And what about the mental W's that Inter got with the Thuram goal, the Frattesi goal, and the Hakan goal?
Honestly, man, life is full of these deep plots.
Like, in case you guys don't know, Thuram, incredibly close to joining Milan in summer. He rejected PSG to go to Milan. It just wasn't for the Rossoneri, it was for the Nerazzurri, and he did that on the last day. On the last day of the saga, rather. Frattesi was also in talks with Milan, ended up going to Inter also, and Hakan, former Milan player, obviously scores a penalty, does a knee slide, the entire stadium starts singing Hakan's song, Hakan starts crying. My God, I liked him better when he was the villain, but now it seems like he's a bit of a hero. So
yes, and you have Acerbi and Darmian who were in Milan's youth product as well, the youth setup. Yeah, I mean, it just gets worse and worse for Milan fans, right? But yeah, congratulations to Inter. They are fucking good.
They're insane.
Not devastating for Milan. At the end of the day, a 1-0 loss would have been the same thing. No?
Yes, but it's devastating.
It is devastating.
Where if you think of morale,
yes,
and you think of the worlds apart that the teams are in
but
right
if
now.
they're mentally strong, the setback is 3 points.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the season is long. Match day 4, you got fucked against Inter. Use that as fuel. Use that as fuel to push you on. And to maybe
get a 0-0 against Newcastle in the San Siro when you're dominating and they're playing like shit.
Maybe not to go for a back heel in front of the goalkeeper when you can shoot.
Milan should have beat Newcastle 3-0. Newcastle were rubbish. But I'm just going to do a bit of a Milan thing over here.
But that's a taste of your own medicine and your catenaccio, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
That was my English accent.
Yeah, that was really good, bro. We're just going to do this one thing. Go, dai ragazzi, just fucking recover. Jesus, come on, we can do it. But anyways, on to the next game, brother. All yours.
All right, Mela. The next game we're covering is another banger. Mela does. When we say Mela, we don't mean apple in Italian. We mean so in Maltese. Mela. No. Juventus 3, Lazio 1. Lazio's wildly inconsistent start to the season continues as they manage to beat the defending champions Napoli pretty convincingly, only to lose to Lecce, Genoa, and now, perhaps less surprisingly, Juventus. Juve, on the other hand, have only dropped points in their draw against Bologna and have looked different. They press high and they are aggressive. They want the ball, and this is something that we're not used to seeing. What can be the cause of this before we get into the lineups and the play-by-play? Have you ever heard of Magnanelli? Or rather, do you remember Magnanelli?
I remember Magnanelli. Was he not a defender that had been at the same club for a very long time?
Midfielder with Sassuolo for a very long time.
Oh, there you go.
He worked under De Zerbi. And yes, he's basically the mastermind behind this new Juventus, is what they're saying. Because he took on a coaching role at Juve, and now Juve are playing a bit more of a modern brand, and they're hailing this genius in Magnanelli, Magnanelli, the genius, the philosopher,
yeah,
the guy who's basically
Oracle.
the Oracle, yes, the guy who's leading Juve to the new world of football. Now, Juve lined up with the 3-5-2 formation. Allegri's men. Szczesny was in goal. Danilo, Bremer and Gatti were at the back. Kostic was out on the left while McKennie was out on the right. Weird, but he did very well.
Yeah.
Rabiot, Locatelli and Miretti were in the middle with Vlahovic and Chiesa partnering up top. For Lazio, it was Sarri's 4-3-3 formation. He wouldn't have it any other way. It's Marlborough goal and 4-3-3 for Sarri.
Just the filter nowadays. He's just chewing on the filter.
Smoke, right? So just to chew a filter, like a pacifier. He's essentially a grown baby.
Literally, man.
Yeah. It's an oral fixation.
It has to be.
Provedel was in goal for Lazio, the goal scorer of last night. Marusic was the right back, Hisa was the left back, Romagnoli and Chasali were the centre backs. The midfield three were Kamada, Cataldi and Luis Alberto, with Felipe Anderson on the right, Zaccagni on the left and Immobile up front. Now give me a second while I just try to figure out how Evernote works. And alright, it all started in the 10th minute. Locatelli crossed the ball to Vlahovic, who finished devastatingly on the volley. McKennie had barely kept the ball over the line in the build-up to this goal, and there was some controversy that was filled up that the ball had crossed the line, but it hadn't. They have the technology for this in Italy. McKennie kept it in. His hard work paid off, essentially, and Vlahovic with an expert finish. Nice to see the vintage Fiorentina Vlahovic back over here.
Yeah, all the anti-Juve Twitter heads just on social media saying this is so clearly off the line and just showing the photo with like an incorrect angle. Come on, guys, have some shame about your ball knowledge. Like, you know damn well that that's not the angle.
The 26th minute, Rabiot took a touch on a ball that came his way, but just before he could tee himself up for a shot, Chiesa came out of nowhere and smacked it out of his not that I was going to say the palm of his hands, but should I say the soles of his feet?
Yeah.
He smacked it out of the soles of his feet and rocketed the ball into the back of the net. Fantastic goal for Chiesa over there, who truly seems to be back.
Yes, man. Yes.
Yes. Early on in the first half, Provedel made a great save on Rabiot's header following a corner. Now Provedel's name, just saying Provedel makes me smile.
Hey, man. Hey. Oh, man, the scenes.
64th minute, vintage Luis Alberto curler alert. With his right foot from outside the area. What a goal. It shocked everyone. Everyone thought that Lazio were back in it. Lazio's, Luis Alberto rather, is just a level above the rest when it comes to this Lazio team. When it comes to most of the players around him, most of the time, to be honest. He's so intelligent and his technique is so good that it backs it up properly.
Have you ever asked, what was the Luis Alberto goal like?
Yeah.
You're asking a dumb question.
Yeah, it was magnificent. That's what it was like.
It was a tira gira into the far corner.
Or a back heel, alright?
Yeah.
There's nothing in between. In the 67th minute, McKennie, the best fullback in the world, played a mental ball to Vlahovic, like crossfield pass, crazy, high. Vlahovic took a touch, controlled it casually like it was nothing with his chest. After he took it down with his chest, took another shot and rifled it past three players into the back of the net.
Duzan, baby.
Duzan. What a
Good game for Vlahovic.
Yes. At the end of the game, Wea had an empty net. The goalkeeper was quite close, to be honest, but he did sky it, so he essentially missed an empty net, so I have to mention it. Okay, so, bro, thoughts?
I think, firstly, great reaction from Juve following a couple of legalities that have gone on once again surrounding their club.
Yeah, do elaborate for those who don't know.
I mean, apparently Bonucci is suing. Apparently Cristiano Ronaldo is suing for some kind of, well, they owe Cristiano Ronaldo a sum that I believe is up to 19 million euros.
Yes, an amount that hadn't been paid while he was there basically during COVID or something.
And then Bonucci, I don't know, to be honest, I just think Bonucci is a bit of a baby.
Defamation, I believe, or basically character assassination. But he did that to himself, no?
Oh, this is Bonucci?
Yeah, I mean, he joined Milan and celebrated under their curva with his signature celebration in their stadium. Like, you're gonna sue the club, bro.
Do you have no shame? My God. But I think good reaction by them. It's all noise, so it's good to see that the 11 players are focused on actually playing the game. I don't think Lazio were bad, but they just don't turn me on, man. There isn't that spark about them yet this season. They don't quite have that guy that's going to finish off their chances. That is typically
Provedel.
Ciro Immobile. This, like now, like Jake's saying, it's probably going to be Provedel. Juve, on the other hand, showing us that they are still one of the strongest teams in Serie A. this season. Don't get it twisted just because they did drop 2 points to Bologna at some point. They're devastating. They're very offensive. They had a 2-0 goal advantage in the 25th minute. So that does change everything. And then Alberto gets one back, and then they get the third, and they get the job done. Juve were in control throughout. I don't think Lazio gave them too much to worry about, except for maybe hanging on the ball for a bit too long.
Yeah, safe to say, in the words of Antonio Conte for Lazio,
the situation went to become worse.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
it.
That sums it up perfectly, I believe.
It did.
Worst.
You know, Lazio had 2/3 of the possession but lost 3-1. Seems to be a theme this week, by the way. You know, there's Milan's exact same situation. You've had more shots than Lazio, 17-16 actually. So they are a tough nut to crack with their all Brazilian defense. No, you've
Wow, right? All Brazilian defense.
Not all Brazilian, totally. There's Gatti, but Danilo and Alexandro and all those bros. And Bremer, actually, not Alexandro. Bremer. This time out, at least. But they have the potential to play an all Brazilian defense, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of skill moves at the back.
So, bro, Juve's XG in the first 30 minutes, 0.44. Juve's goals.
In the first how many minutes?
30 minutes. Sorry, did I said 3?
No, you said first 30.
In the first 30 minutes, it was 0.44 goals, right? But they were 2-0 up. That's just what
Clinical.
you get, right?
That's what you get when you've got strikers like Vlahovic and Chiesa, man.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
Literally, bro. The Allianz Arena is back. It feels like it's been a while since we saw it full of passionate fans, encouraging fans, pushing. But it always seems like amidst the chaos, when you are slapped with controversy, they rise above it all and they unite. Now, the only time when this wasn't the case, I think we mentioned this in the last episode, was when they had their point deduction. But that was devastating, of course. That would demoralize the fuck out of them. Yeah. But any off-field issues that don't affect their points, at least they rise above it every single time. Every time. If something comes out in the news about Juve, put a bet that they're going to win their next game.
Yeah. And just the start of the game, they're all singing the trademark Juve song. Storia di grande amore, the entire stadium with their lights in the air. It's enough to give you chills. Beautiful club Juve is, obviously, through and through with their fans. It's a shame that there's so much political chaos around them.
Of course, in true Sarri fashion, the shithousery began in the second half when he brought on Nicolo Rovella and Luca Pellegrini in a double whammy.
Of course.
2 former Juve players, for those who do not know.
Yeah, that'll show them.
Yeah, owned.
Oh, fucking roasted.
A few stats from the game. Chiesa has been involved in 7 goals in his last 9 Serie A appearances, 5 goals and 2 assists.
Fucking hell.
It might be fun to mention that Vlahovic celebrated with the Luca Toni celebration.
Oh, yeah, of course.
To mention that.
Luca Toni, before the game, said that he believes Vlahovic is going to be the top scorer. Vlahovic must have heard that and celebrated doing the Luca Toni celebration. Luca Toni has to be one of my favorite, one of the most gas players to ever play the game.
Love the guy. Why would he pick Vlahovic, though? Why would you, if you had to publicly, as a person, you know, whose opinions are listened to and commented on, you know, a former striker who you have a certain amount of ball knowledge associated with you, and you have to pick the top scorer of the season, you want to try to get it right?
Yeah.
So you're going to go for a team managed by Allegri.
I mean, I don't think it's a crazy shout that Vlahovic should be top scorer. I don't see it happening because I know there's Osimhen and I know there's Lautaro who play for more offensive teams. But I think all the guy is trying to say is that he's going to have a breakout season for Juve. The fact that he said he's going to be capocannoniere is quite a stretch. But I think the point that he was trying to make is, in fact, that he's going to have a breakout season and he's going to score a bunch of goals. To be honest, it depends on what the other two do.
Yeah. I mean, safe to say Vlahovic has already broken out hard at Fiorentina.
Yeah.
But yeah, Immobile had one shot on target all game. I'm liking this guy less and less and less with each passing game. It doesn't seem like he's got it anymore.
Yeah, when did Serie A install the fucking Italy national team version of Immobile? Because that's what he's playing like, man.
Good, man.
He's playing as a player that's always one step back and everything he does is slightly reactionary.
Yeah. And he seems out of touch with it. I don't know. He doesn't seem quite as sharp as he once was. It's like he's lagging a little.
Is that what age looks like?
Maybe. Castellanos must be frothing at the fucking gash to get a...
tatty.
To get a moment. And I mean, at this point, he might even displace him.
Bro just said frothing at the gash on Serie A Spotlight.
Yes, sir.
That you do know what that means, right?
Of course, bro. Foaming at the bit, no?
Yeah. But I do believe it's the woman's part.
In between it, no?
Frothing at the gash.
Not the gash.
One creme de menthe.
This is 18 plus. So
It is.
If you're under 18, turn this off.
Exactly.
Okay. You mentioned before that Frattesi, the game against Italy, must have hyped him up.
Yep.
Locatelli, the game for Italy must have hyped him up as well because he had a fantastic game over here.
Yeah, he did have a good game.
Yes, he was great against Ukraine. Midweek, he was great against Lazio this game. Okay, he played a great game. Good to see Manuel Locatelli playing well.
Yeah, and I've seen, I actually read this on one of the Juve fan blogs after the draw to Bologna. I believe I was covering that game. They said, you know what you're going to get with Locatelli. He's not quite who we want, but he gets the job done.
That's it.
That is it. I find it a bit harsh because, like, I'm sorry, but when he played for Italy in the last Euros, before he was replaced by Verratti, because Verratti was initially out injured, he did a spectacular job, Locatelli. When he plays for Juve, he does a good job. I don't think he's flashy and I don't think he's incredibly marketable. And I think that's why he doesn't get praised for just being a solid regista for this team.
And I feel like De Zerbi really knew how to bring out the best in him. And I feel like Allegri isn't quite bringing out the best of Locatelli. But anyway, 3 defeats and 1 win for Lazio this season, a mixed bag. Do you anticipate they'll be turning it around shortly?
I think so. I think their only victory this season, which was against Napoli, which is fucking hilarious. I think it says more about Napoli than it does Lazio, to be honest. I don't think Lazio did anything spectacular in that game. I think they had a spectacular spell, and they were lucky that Napoli were so wasteful in the first half and that Rudy Garcia made the wrong changes in the second half. So I don't think it's been mixed. I think it's been bad for Lazio thus far. The results would say otherwise, but just performance-wise, I do anticipate that they'll turn it around. It's a 4-3-3 formation on their salary. They've got their... The thing is, they'll be fine. They'll definitely get top 7. You know what I mean? They might not get top 4. Because at the end of the day, Jake, this fucking... They obviously lost SMS, which we've been discussing for the entire 4 episodes. But have they lost 3 Raw as well, man? Have they lost their 2 Giants? That is what could make a devastating season. Because if that's the case, they're competing with Fiorentina.
Yeah, and that's probably the case, judging by how Fiorentina have also been a mixed bag. They've actually been better than Lazio. But anyway, the one bright spark for Lazio, apart from Provedel, who, by the way, sorry to go off on Provedel again, but the commentary pieces in different languages was French, Arabic, English, Italian. You get to hear Provedel with different pronunciation. It was very cool. Yeah. Which was your favorite one? Did you like Provedel?
I quite liked the French
commentary is lit.
Why was Bro going so? I mean, like, I know why Bro was going wild, my God bless our neighbors. God bless our neighbors, man. Because I wasn't watching the game that intently because I was prepping for this episode. But it's the last 4 minutes. So I'm like, scenes. So I just put my laptop down. I watched the last 4 minutes. like my life depended on it, and just seeing that happen right in the front of me. I wish we had a recording of our reaction to that goal. There's nothing in the world like a goalkeeper scoring a goal. There's nothing in the world like it.
I can't imagine how he must have felt. He was so gassed at the edge.
Hey man, he didn't he didn't let go. He was like, he was just like, what?
It didn't get weird, yeah.
I was totally expecting him to get weird, but he was very just like passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, he celebrated like a man called Ivan. But anyway, Luis Alberto, bro, we have to give him his flowers. Lazio may not be that good, but Luis Alberto surely is a fantastic player. And this was a special day for him because he now has directly contributed to 100 goals for Lazio. 44 goals and 56 assists. He's so fucking good, bro. He's so good. Amazing.
Shout out to Dean or whatever his name is, the guy that
for our foreign listeners listening over there, that's Maltese. That means like holy shit how good he is essentially. But the guy is talking about Monster Energy drink, and I find that so funny, like the way he just says it. And like bro's talking about like a peach flavored energy drink.
I prefer the second one.
Yeah, Milinkovic-Savic left with 101 contribution.
Oh, he's gonna overtake him, Luis Alberto, unless he leaves.
And not to mention, this game might have been quite dominant by Juve when it came to the scoreline at least, but Luis Alberto did have 7 key passes this game.
Yeah, I think Luis Alberto might as well put his signature on the middle of the Stadio Olimpico because he owns the midfield in that Lazio stadium. It's all his. Everyone should aspire to play up to standards. If you're a young central midfielder that's got a bit of a sweet foot, an eye for a goal and a good pass, watch Luis Alberto highlights, definitely. His movement is what you should keep an eye on.
Yeah, and his attitude is what you should ignore.
Exactly.
Lazio currently sit in 15th.
No, we're doing this, we're starting.
I wonder when we should start. There are 12 points in first place.
But man, we at least need to be in the 20s,
Right, I know what you mean. It's a bit ridiculous, but it's fun saying Lecce sit in 4th.
Yeah, but fighting for Champions League.
Yeah, but Lazio at the moment are down in 15th. That's quite interesting to point out.
Lazio are battling relegation and Lecce are guaranteed European football. It's great.
All right, bro, you're up.
The third game we're going to be covering is Genoa 2, Napoli 2. A bit of an upset over here, I would say. Napoli coming off a 2-1 loss, a home loss to Lazio, whereas Genoa coming off a 1-0 defeat to Torino. In Turin, apologies. Now, excluding the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium, the stadium where Napoli have obtained the most Serie A wins since their return to the competition in 2007-2008 is the Luigi Ferraris in Genova, where they have 18 victories, 4 draws and 8 losses. So a bit of a home away from home, the stadium. The Partenopei were eager to shake off their surprise defeat to Lazio, who curiously were also the side beaten by Alberto Gilardino's Genoa earlier this season. Politano was not fully fit after international duty, so Elmas stepped in after scoring against Malta, while the hosts continued to miss Junior Messias, Haps and Vogliacco. Or Vogliaccio, you can correct me. It was a 4-4-2 formation for Genoa with Martinez in goal and a backline of Martin, Dragusin, Bani and Winter. Frendrup and Sabelli out on the wings with Badel and Strutman in the middle, Gudmundsson and Retegui up front. 4-3-3 for Napoli, Meret in goal, backline of Di Lorenzo, Ostergaard, Juan Jesus and Mario Rui. Anguissa, Lobotka and Zielinski were in the midfield with Elmas on the right, Kvara on the left and Osimhen up front. 20 seconds into the game, Elmas got a yellow card. 20 seconds into the game. What was bro thinking about when that whistle was blown? He must have been. He had to be angry about something. Like that minute of silence was way too long. It was more than a minute.
I had just one of my Fantas, bro. I had just picked up Elmas for 1 credit during the repair option. And I was so happy about it. I was like, you fools, you forgot about Elmas. Like, this guy definitely scores like he does well for Napoli. Comes on, he's the ultimate wild card, the ultimate jolly. Bro, it was like 20 seconds in. He totally missed the man, got the ball.
Crazy foul.
Totally missed the ball, got the man. Terrible foul.
Crazy.
And to get a yellow card so early on, it must have been a terrible foul because usually referees are quite lenient early on. But yeah, totally finished the game with a 4.54.
Yeah, that was a point Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker actually brought up. They would always tell referees before the match, don't let them get a free hit. Because in the opening minute they clatter them and they don't even get a yellow. They just get a warning. Like, don't give them a free hit. Like watch them, they're gonna take me out within the first minute of the game, and they always take them out. Elmas,
Every time.
you don't have that green card, you don't get away with it.
So you have a yellow card.
Yeah, exactly. Well put. Well, Napoli were struggling in this game, particularly when it came to building the ball out from the back. But in the 40th minute, they conceded the first goal of the match as Bani opened the scoring for Genoa. It was Goodmanson's corner to the first post that was flicked on by De Winter and converted by Bani with somewhat of a flying, or rather collapsing, header. Genoa went into the break with the lead and they came out and made it 2 in the 56th minute. This time it was Retegui that scored. Merit's punch clearance only went as far as Strutman, whose low ball into the centre of the box was finished off by Retegui with one touch. Genoa 2-0 ahead, 56th minute. Crazy stuff. Couple of changes carried out by Napoli. Unlike the last match where the changes weakened them, this time it made them stronger. It was the substitute combination of Caiuste and Raspadori that gave them one goal back in the 76th minute. The Italian received the ball towards the corner of the box by Caiuste. He took a touch and pelted the ball into the top corner of the near post. Absolute bullet strike. Definitely a contender for goal of the week. Couple minutes later, in the 84th minute, Zielinski played a great ball over the Genoa defence, and Politano was the one who volleyed the ball expertly into the top corner of the near post. Another substitute that got a goal for them over there, as it was obviously Elmas that started the game. Good reaction by Napoli to get back in the game. It's good to see Garcia's substitutes actually working after the Lazio game, but nonetheless, it's a disappointing result for Napoli.
Of course, and they're going to be asking questions as to what the hell went wrong, why they were 2-0 down against a newly promoted side, right? And they were pleased to get a draw at the end of it. Funny story about this game is in the 75th minute, I decided to send a message to La Lanterna.
Of course.
Podcast friend.
Shout out to La Lanterna podcast.
And I told them, doing great, guys. You're killing them.
Excellent.
The second I sent it, Raspadori scored. And he replied, essentially, I forgot what he said. It said something along the lines of like, thank you, it's going well so far. And I replied like, sorry if I jinxed you. Right after that, Politano scores the equalizer.
Like 2 messages, 2 goals.
So we owe them one, essentially. Shout out La Lanterna podcast.
Yeah, the next time Genoa are struggling, we're going to message you telling you, wow, you guys are struggling, man. And hopefully that'll turn it around. However, I do think that Genoa have a lot to be encouraged by, obviously, from this game. I think they did a great job. Osimhen was double teamed. He didn't get a sniff. It was Bani and Dragosin that had him for the entirety of the match. I think De Winter, who assisted the opening goal, hardly made a misstep in defense. He had a brilliant game. He was tasked with marking Kvara, who he kept him off the score sheet once again, and also with the support of Sabelli and Strutman, and they really managed to section him out of the game. So a good defensive performance as well. Now, with Napoli's front six seemingly not on the same page, because that is one thing we're seeing with Napoli, the fluidity is what's lacking when they are attacking. It seems like they're less familiar with each other than they were last season. Last season, they could pass the ball to each other with a blindfold on. This season, they couldn't do it with their glasses on.
I think that's because they're looking to attack through different avenues because of Rudy Garcia's philosophy. And this is how a manager can totally take a team to another level or limit them entirely. So you look at Spalletti, he managed to find a formula to play Lobotka as the central piece to his project. playing Osimhen in behind from anywhere in the pitch, playing sideways, taking your time, waiting for space to open up and then attacking, right? Garcia is way more direct. Garcia focuses on full back play a lot. So you hardly ever see like Lobotka holding the ball in the middle and being the metronome and dictating play as we used to. And I feel like that was a massive part of Napoli's game, and that made them one of the strongest teams in the league. And I think Rudy Garcia might want to think about how strictly he wants to stick to his system.
Yeah, well put. I think it's important to try out different things when you're a new manager, just to be obviously clear with that. But while he's figuring it out, some people are going to take advantage, and Genoa took advantage over here. I feel like when Napoli did seem like they weren't on the same page, Genoa consistently played out of the back and into midfield, where there was tons of space to exploit. So there's really didn't seem like they were keeping their shape. It didn't seem like they were like Inter, where you clearly have that one person that's pressing, the one person that's tracking back. And I feel like them just not being on the same page really allowed Genoa that freedom to play the kind of football they want to be playing. And I feel like we've seen like Frosinone play the football they want to play against Napoli as well. So it seems like Napoli are really allowing their opponents to be the best version of themselves against Napoli. It's not to say that Napoli won't get away with the victory, but it seems like it's like, here's the stage, you can dance on it all you want, and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to clap for you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It's they are letting other teams play, because they're not about dominating games as much anymore, right? And that allows, yes, any team to play against them. And we're finding out now that if you press them high, you can cause some serious problems.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, Genoa's press in the first half was very, very effective. It seems like when they were pressing Napoli ended up, you know how last season we made the comment that ping the ball up to Victor Osimhen, wherever it is, he's going to get to it. They believed that too much in this game, because every time Genoa were pressing them, they were launching it up to Osimhen, just launching it, which is such a difference from how they were last season, building the ball up through Lobotka, playing the early pass to Gvara, taking on a man, squaring it to Zielinski, and seeing all that wonderful play, but they're finding their feet.
Yes, and in reality, it is true that they only lost one player in the market, right? In the last transfer window. Kim,
for those listening.
Yeah. They replaced him with Nathan, who we haven't really seen yet. So they're lining up with Rahmani and Juan Jesus, or in this case, Ostigard and Juan Jesus. And if you look at the two goals they conceded, the first goal was a corner. It was from a corner where you need the big bodies. A formidable figure like Kim would have been totally appreciated in there, because man was a gorilla in the box. He would overpower any attacker, right?
Yeah.
And the other goal, I don't even know what the hell happened. It was like quick ball to Retegui, defender on the floor, and he scored.
It was quite Napoli were all over the place, to be honest.
Like
Merit punched the ball out. It fell straight to some Genoa player. I can't remember who, but Matt, you've got it written down, brother. To Strutman, who just needed a simple pass to Retegui to slot in well.
Yeah, turned off. Everyone was turned off, and Ostigard was on the floor as well during it. So Napoli don't have it easy this season, and for the first time in a while, they're playing with a lot of pressure on their shoulders, because last season you could say no one was expecting Napoli to win it. You know, they're the dark horse without any pressure. The sleeper pick for the Scudetto, the ones that can do it quietly with all the support in the world with zero expectations. There are definitely expectations now. The fans have had a taste of silverware, and they're going to be vocal if they don't like what they see now.
Yeah, no, I agreed in full. I just want to make two more points before we move on. I am conscious of time. Already just 1 hour in, because we've only covered 3 games.
Oh my god!
In 1 hour, which is hilarious. But the 2 points I want to make is, number one, Albert Gudmundsson more like Albert Bestmanson. Like, so, bro, I had a Prem head over of my best friends, Jamie Dent. Shout out Jamie Dent. Prem head doesn't care too much about Serie A. He'll watch a game when it's on, you know what I mean? And he was over. We had Genoa, Napoli on. And he's the kind of guy that he'll watch Genoa and make sure he shits on them loads so that we understand that Burnley are better or something like that. He's one of those. He was impressed by Genoa, but every time Albert Goodmanson did something, he was like, bro, this guy is whoa. He was really, really impressed by good. Yes, man, every time Goodmanson touches the ball, he does something that looks really easy to do, but it's really difficult. It takes a lot of skill and technique.
That's what Lala and Terna mentioned, actually. I praised him in the chat, and they said he won MVP last season. You can understand. Now, he's on another level. Albert Goodmanson.
He's so technically gifted.
So technically gifted.
He's insane. Now I just want to highlight the Garcia substitutions really quick to give you guys a clear idea of what went on. At the start of the second half, Garcia replaced Elmas with Politano, who immediately improved Napoli's attack and scored a stunning volley to equalize in the match. Garcia made his second set of changes in the 58th minute. He introduced Matias Oliveira to replace Mario Rui, who couldn't seem to complete a single pass in his first start of the season. At the same time, Raspadori replaced Anguissa, facilitating a switch to the 4-2-3-1 formation. Raspadori also improved Napoli's attack, scoring the Azzurri's first with a powerful left-footed strike into the top corner. Jens Kajust assisted Raspadori on the goal. The Swede replaced Stanislav Lobotka in the 74th minute. Kajust was also involved in the build-up to Politano's goal. So last week, we criticised Garcia for his substitutions. This week, I take my hat off to Garcia for his substitutions.
Well done, Garcia. Also failed. Also safe.
Fail, bro.
Also fail. Also safe to mention that Kvaratskhelia has had the worst free kick of the season so far. 33 minutes into the game, and he fucking skied it. I don't know if you saw that meme. There was a meme going around of a player who had a terrible miss, and they were enlarging the goalpost.
Of course, I saw it on the toilet today,
200%.
300% he scored.
Exactly, 325%. I think it went in. Same thing, he could do that with Kvara's free kick. I think you'd have to get it up to like 450%.
You need a circular goalpost for that to go in, man. It didn't even head north, or wherever the hell it needs to head.
Kvara, bro, he hasn't scored in 27 games. You actually have a question for Mentov. I was wondering if we should discuss it or save it for the question.
No, to be honest, that's why I didn't bring up Kvara. I'm aware of the. However,
we might want to. Let's do it now. Why not? Luke Mintov, our friend and host at times in emergencies, he's kind enough to do that. Basically, has a hot take that Kvaradona is a one-season wonder. And I think it is too harsh and too soon to say, but I view it in this way, right? Okay, he hasn't scored in 27 goals. He started scoring, I think, Matchday 1 last season.
Of course, they had in the first game against Verona.
Yeah, Kvaratskhelia, for me, in the first season, it was the rare situation where the league had to adapt to the new player, right? Yeah. That doesn't happen often. But the player was so good and so unique that he came in. He tore everything apart. He was totally abnormal the way he played football, the way he took the ball on the wing. No one knew what he was going to do. Close call, ball control, the coach encouraged the freedom, It was something not very common in, say, only the elite players like Leao who can do that. Yeah. Now, in his second season, people are starting to figure him out. All right, we know this guy is very good. We'll double team him. It's kind of the same thing Leao went through when he was getting double teamed at first. He needs to adapt to the league now. And the league had to adapt to him. They did. Now he has to adapt to the league. And he needs to figure out what he's going to do when he's double teamed. Not to try something flashy every single time, play the ball around a couple of times. The false sense of security is a powerful weapon. Yeah. And that can totally be utilized.
Look, there's no way Kvaratskhelia is consistently as good as he was last season. That's no one's that good.
Yeah.
No one's as good as Kvaratskhelia was last season. At least consistently that good. We've seen how good he can be. His goal is to get back to that level now, but he hasn't scored in, like you said, 27 games. And it seems like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to do something spectacular, because he effortlessly, everything he touched turned to gold last year. Now he gets the ball and the defenders approach him. He's like, okay, last season I'd have the audacity to drop my shoulder left, fucking feint right, and turn him inside out and not make him do whatever the hell I want to do with this guy. He'd toy with everyone, like even in the Champions League. But now it seems like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to replicate what he was doing last season. And he lost that effortless kind of touch that he had. And there's no amount of training, there's no amount of extra work he could put in to help him get back to that level. That flow is a state of mind. That flow is a state of being. That flow is literal stillness on the football pitch, seeing everything, being in the moment, having the best judgment at the perfect time. Mentally, he's not quite there yet this season. He was linked to Saudi Arabia. He was linked to Real Madrid. He was linked to everyone underdog for hundreds and millions of euros. The entire world are talking about him. We're talking about him. Now they're talking about him. It's always they're either sucking his dick or they're shitting on him, basically. Because that's what it is. Kvaratskhelia has only been praised or shat on. Yeah. It's never like, first it's, who the hell is this guy from fucking nowhere? And then he's, okay, that guy from fucking nowhere is the best player in the world. Now it's like, he's shit.
That's the media, bro. That's the media. If they don't exaggerate, they're not going to get their clicks.
He's going through that.
Totally true.
He's going through that. A wise man once said, Los pecheches a virtugo. Patience is a virtue. Be patient with him on his day. He's genuinely one of the best players in the world.
And you risk, man. You risk the players starting to play with fear. And that's what happens to many youngsters who join a club and they start playing with this confidence and this flair, and they hardly put a foot wrong, and you're like, wow, we've got this crazy talent. Then the second they make a mistake, they make 2 mistakes, they make 3, and slowly they stop trying to go for those things that they would have previously gone for. Perhaps that could also be a thing that's happening to Guevara. Before he'd shoot from anywhere, it would be a goal. He had that mindset, right? Everything I touch turns to goal, like you said. Mm-hmm. Now probably the numbers are taking a toll. It's been a while since I scored. Mm-hmm. Providel has scored and I still haven't scored. Salamaker's dribbled everyone at the Maradona and scored more recently than I've scored at the Maradona.
It just has to end with the Allah. It's brilliant.
Of course, you're not going to cut that part out.
Like today, I took a screenshot at work. And the kind of screenshot I took was the Command Shift 4, which basically don't screenshot the entire screen. You can section a box and screenshot it.
I'm curious to see where you're going to go with this.
Whatever. And typically, when it comes to screenshotting an A4 paper, I'm your man.
Okay.
If I need to screenshot an A4 PDF, call me. All right? I'll get it done for you in less than a second. I go corner to corner, and typically you need to zoom in, make sure you're getting the perfect. No, fuck you, man. I'll get the corner instantly. I'm a monster.
Okay.
And today I got it wrong. I'm like, shit. No, it's fucking larger from one side or another. Then I tried again. I got it wrong again. I got some black in it. I'm like, shit. I've lost it. And then I started going against whatever made me good at doing this. So I started saying, okay, so clearly I need to go more to the left. Then I went too much to the left. And I said, okay, so clearly I had to go more to the right. And I started over-analyzing that flow that I typically have of taking the screenshot.
You started to think about it.
Exactly.
And that's a problem, right? When you think about it too much, when you really think about what you do.
Yeah.
Imagine being in a social situation, you can't stop thinking about what you're doing, where to put your hands, how you're breathing.
Shoot me.
Shoot
me in the face. Whenever I fucking think about that shit in a social setting, it throws me off. And I think footballers are humans, and I think Guevara is literally Matt not being able to take a screenshot.
That's it, bro. That's great.
I fade that he'll be back. Matt and Guevara.
Yeah. Perhaps it might be wise to save the 0-0 for the very end for this one. It's gone quite long, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But let's go.
Let's go. Up next, right?
Yeah.
Another banger, 4 games in. Do you think the quality is going to get worse? You think we don't have another 30 minutes talking about one game?
Fuck you.
Fiorentina 3, Atalanta 2.
My God.
In a comeback.
My God.
I
Did
love
Fiorentina
Atalanta.
just lose to Inter and then weren't Atalanta just
Yes,
back?
who
Like,
cares?
what's
Nothing.
going on?
Structure, no. Patterns, no. Logic, no. Say ya. Okay. Fiorentina held on to grab their second win in the Serie A campaign with a pulsating 3-2 victory over Atalanta. They've leapfrogged Atalanta in the table and maintained their undefeated home record at the Stadio Artemio Franchi since February. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Oh, you didn't know that? You didn't fucking know that?
Yes. So, lineups. Coach Vincenzo Italiano made 6 changes from La Viola's 4-0 thrashing to Inter. Okay. So they lined up with a 4-2-3-1 formation with Terracciano in goal, Parisi as the left back, Dodo as the right back, Milenkovic and Martinez Quarta as the centre back partnership. Last week we asked, where's Quarta? This week he told us, here I am, as he scored a goal. Mandragora and Duncan were the double pivot, Brecalo was out on the left while Nico Gonzalez was out on the right, and Zola was up front with Jack Bonaventura playing the free role in the trequartista position over there. Atalanta, it was a 3-4-1-2 for Gasperini's men, with Carnesecchi in goal. Nice to see him in goal for a solid team over here.
Hey, Carney.
A very good goalkeeper over there.
Benching Musso.
Benching Juan Musso.
Yeah, like Sportiello did last season as well.
Kid special.
Yeah.
Tolois, Scalvini and Kolasinac were at the back with Zappa Costa out on the right and Ruggeri out on the left in those left wing back and right wing back positions. Ederson and Darun formed the midfield double pivot with Coop Miners right in front of them as De Ketelaar and Lookman partnered up top.
Was he by any chance in front of them as well?
In front of them.
Several.
No, Atalanta were the better side and forced the opening chance when Davide Zappacosta fired a shot at Terracciano, who managed to tip the ball over the bar. In the 20th minute, Coop Miner's long-range effort took a slight deflection on its way into the back of the net. Great goal over there by Coop Miners. It's only because of the slight deflection that this wasn't in our goal of the week talks. There were so many good goals this week. In the 35th minute, this one was Bonaventura converted Nico Gonzalez's cross into a lovely volley and goal. What a goal for the timeless Jack Bonaventura, Fiorentina's first shot on target. A fantastic goal by the Fiorentina captain, a fantastic goal by the former Atalanta man. So you can tell why this goal is important for Bonaventura, captain and ex.
Yeah, it's such a fun game guessing who's going to score this game. Literally, we did it. I told you, Jack is Ruolo del Lex today.
Yes, sir.
When the game started.
So,
and Jack's been looking so good this season.
He has. I think it's a new haircut. The equalizer lit up Italiano's men, who drove the visitors back in the remaining minutes of the half. And they kept pressing and pushing for another goal, but they did not get one until the 45th minute. Fiorentina took the lead into the break with a beautiful cross by Alfred Duncan. It was powerfully headed home by an unmarked Lucas Martinez Quarta. What an incredible header that was by Martinez Quarta. So powerful, bro.
Yeah.
He was quite far out for it to be struck with that much power with his head. Like,
I love those goals. I love it when a header is a bit too far out. Like,
yeah. What a goal. Like, the type that gets you off your seat. And then basically at the end of the first half, Carnesecchi pulled off 2 strong saves as well.
Yeah.
Mirroring the first half, Atalanta started the second half on the front foot with Adamola Lookman becoming increasingly dangerous. It was no surprise in the 53rd minute when Lookman equalized for Gasperini's men. The former Everton winger drove into the penalty area and smashed a low shot past Terracciano for his first goal of the season. He scored quite a few last season, scored a handful. He's on the girls' team, on the girls' Fantacalcio, by the way, Lookman.
That's the one, yeah.
In the 76th minute, Fiorentina got their winner through substitute Christian Kwame, who hadn't scored a goal since April.
Wow.
He stabbed the ball home inside the 6-yard box after it fell to him after a deflection. Basically, it was a square pass and a deflection. It fell to Kwame, who converted. Atalanta tried, but Fiorentina ended the game with 3 points. Their first home win of the season. What do you think?
Great win by Fiorentina, especially after they lost to Inter. I think they started the season off very strongly. Very convincing victory against Genoa and Matchday 1. Shows a great performance in Matchday 2 as well. And then Matchday 3, we're like, maybe their opponents weren't that great after all. Matchday 4. It's always a battle between Fiorentina and Atalanta. I believe there was like a 4-3 last season as well between them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But to be 1 goal down, to get 2 back, and then for Atalanta to get the equalizer so early on in the second half, and then to manage to go back and get another goal through a substitute, Christian Kwame, after making 6 changes to your starting 11, I think it's a very good sign for Fiorentina to be able to not only perform in this game in front of their fans, but to get 3 points against this Atalanta side, who didn't look bad at all. Atalanta, not at all.
One thing I noticed is that Atalanta look way more dominant at the start of the half.
Yep.
Like, it's almost like before the defense can kind of restructure and adapt to what they're gonna do, they can overpower you early on in a half, and they can score. And both their goals came at the beginning of each half. 20 minutes in, Koop Miners scored, and then in the 53rd minute, Lookman scored.
Yeah.
Shortly after the resumption of the game.
Quite literally.
Yeah, so probably Fiorentina would take a while to take shape. Atalanta would be pressing, and then eventually maybe it runs a bit stale, and Fiorentina can actually hit on the counter and try to even have spells where they control the ball a little bit. If you look at the possession, actually it's quite impressive and not that surprising, to be honest, due to Atalanta's new pragmatic kind of mindset at certain moments in certain games, in most games nowadays.
Yeah.
But Fiorentina dominated the possession by quite a bit. They had 58% ball possession. So yeah.
Fiorentina did. Yeah, exactly. And I think further to both your points, I think Fiorentina did a good job of remaining patient in this game and growing into the game. I think it's easy to panic after you go 1 goal down or you get your opponents get an equalizer or something of the sort. But I think Fiorentina stayed patient. They still played the way that they had to play in order to get points against Atalanta. And I think as the game progressed, they got stronger. It took them a while to make their first substitution. That was in the 63rd minute, where Kwame came on for Nico and Arthur came on for Mandragora. 10 minutes later, Beltran and Biraghi came on for Dodo and Nzola. And these are substitutions that strengthen a team.
Yeah.
Maybe man for man you choose the starter in some of these occasions, but bringing on, that's the point I made about Pioli. Maybe you want to bring on an Okafor for Giroud to spice things up a little bit. Less size, more pace, for example. And that's one thing that Fiorentina really exercise over here. Bringing on Beltran for Nzola. Bringing on Biraghi on the right as an inverted wing back, and all of a sudden you've got Parisi on one side whipping the ball in, Biraghi also whipping the ball in to Beltran. You've got Arthur coming on for Mandragora, Kwame, who we all know what he can do on his day. Nice to see Barak coming in as well, getting a couple of minutes in the 88th minute. Don't forget Barak, because he's a very strong player, man.
Yes, and a sad loss for Atalanta, as they have lost Scamacca.
Around a month, I believe.
Yeah, at least a month. Muscle injury. And they also lost El Bilal Toure.
Yeah, of course.
Their new striker as well. So that leaves them with Muriel and Lookman only. Yeah, so sucks to be Atalanta right now. But, knowing them, they'll find a random Aryan 17-year-old 6'7" striker, pop him in and sell him for 120 million now.
Yeah, it's something like that. Something like that.
But yeah, no, I don't think we should spend too much longer on this game, for we have others to cover.
Yes.
It was a very impressive comeback by Fiorentina, and it was just a great game all around. It could have been anyone's game, one of those.
The next game we're going to be covering wasn't such a tight affair over here, as Roma absolutely demolished Empoli 7-0. Roma were coming off a 2-1 home loss against Milan, while Empoli were coming off a 2-0 home loss to Juve. Now, Roma haven't actually lost against Empoli in Serie A since February 17th of 2007. It was a 1-0 at the Castellani Stadium with a goal from Pozzi. Since then, there have been 3 draws and 12 wins for Roma, including the most recent 8 matches, with Roma scoring at least 2 goals in each. Now, the Giallorossi scored just 1 point in 3 rounds, but inaugurated the new Lukaku-Dybala partnership for the first time, together with the Serie A debut of Evan Ndika. Aouar, Smalling and Pellegrini joined Tammy Abraham and Marash Kumbulla on the treatment table. Empoli, at the bottom of the table, have not scored any goals or points, as Daniel Maldini and Caprile are also out of this fixture. For the lineups, it was a 3-5-2 formation for Mourinho's Roma, with Rui Patricio on goal and a backline of Evan Ndika, Llorente and Mancini. Spinazzola was the left wing-back, whilst Christensen was the right wing-back, and Sanchez, Paredes and Cristante formed the midfield three, with Dybala and Lukaku up front for the first time together. It was a 4-3-3 for Empoli over here, with Berisha on goal and the backline of Berezinski, Valukovic, Luperto and Pezzella. It was Fazzini, Grassi and Male in the midfield, with Cancelleri and Cambiaghi flanking Mattia Destro. Now, it only took 2 minutes for Roma to open the scoring, as Christensen's cross into the box looked easy for Valukovic to deal with, but somehow he managed to control the ball with his arm, giving away a penalty. Dybala stepped up and converted into the top bins, no problem whatsoever. 6 minutes later, in the 8th minute, it was 2-0 for Roma, thanks to Renato Sanchez. The man who started the attack finished it. Sanchez played it wide to Christensen, who controlled and delivered a return cross to the Portuguese, who headed in. In the 18th minute, Paredes hit the post directly from a corner, and in the 35th minute, Grassi turned the ball into his own net to make it 3-0 to Roma. Cristante had ran into the box after a brilliant layoff by Lukaku, but before the Italian got his shot away, Berezinski attempted to hoof the ball to safety, but it deflected off Grassi, who was sliding in to tackle Cristante, and the ball ended up in the back of the net. Quite comical over there.
Just 4 more, bro.
Yeah, we can do it. In the 55th minute, actually 5 more, dog.
Oh my God.
In the 55th minute, Dybala made it 4-0. Cristante pulled the ball back for Dybala, who sent Luperto to Lidl with the feint and finished cleanly past Berisha. In the 58th minute, Dybala hit the crossbar after a corner. In the 66th minute, Baldanzi had a crack at goal from some serious distance, but his low strike only managed to hit the post. In the 80th minute, Cristante made it 5-0. Belotti teed it up for Cristante, who found the top corner with a first-time bullet from some serious distance, one of our candidates for goal of the week. 2 minutes later, Lukaku made it 6. Belotti's through ball found Lukaku, who tapped the ball in under the legs of Berisha. His first goal for Roma on his first start. And then just 4 minutes later, in the 86th, Mancini made it 7-0. A corner kick to the first post was flicked on by the back heel of Cristante and headed in by Mancini to seal the 7-0 victory for Roma over Empoli.
Yeah, wow.
Jesus.
Wow, where do you even start?
Jesus.
A Mourinho side winning 7-0, crazy. How bad have Empoli been this season? And it comes to no surprise to anyone that Zanetti has been sacked.
Yes.
They do have an easier run of games coming up in the near future, where they have 3 winnable fixtures essentially, or 3 fixtures where they can get some points. The question was, did they want to enter this period with Zanetti as the manager, or did they want to take a punt with someone else? They have brought on Andrea Azzoli.
What a punt that is.
Yes, it's his 4th time managing Empoli. Super manager for them. I think he led them to a 14th place finish.
Wow.
One season. Not bad at all. Yeah, so we'll see if they manage to pick things up, because on paper, this team isn't bad. It shouldn't be losing 7-0. You know, I mean, I don't want to read out the entire lineup, but these players have been in Serie A for a while.
Yeah, they should have scored a goal in the opening four matches as well. Empoli always struggled to get goals. It seems like there's a lot of transitions, a lot of steps they need to take to get themselves in a goal-scoring opportunity. I feel like that at the start, Zanetti kind of managed to fix that for Empoli, and they were a much more attacking team, a much more direct team. However, clueless is how Empoli look at the moment, be it on the ball, off the ball.
Naive,
absolutely
clueless, lackadaisical.
Yeah. And if there's one thing Roma are, it's that they're structured. No, they're a Mourinho side. They play a 3-5-2. Absolutely structured as hell in this match. They got the first win of the season, and they've also played the best football we've seen in this young season by Roma. Mourinho's midfield, propelled by Renato Sanchez, is relentless running, and Paredes' measured movements. They were passing circles around this Empoli defense and this Empoli team, stitching together some of the best football we've seen from Roma in a while. Naturally, the opponents played quite a part over there. But you throw in Lukaku's hold-up play and Dybala's clever movements in the final third, and suddenly Roma look like they've got something going on over here. I'm not going to shift my perspective on Roma too much because of a battering of the worst side in the league so far this season.
The worst thing you can do against a Mourinho side is concede early. And Valukovic in the first, as you mentioned, in the first minute, handled the ball in the box
really
extremely
ridiculously,
naively. And then in the 7th minute was just a casual cross into the box that was met by Renato Sanchez running in 2 very naive goals conceded over there in 7 minutes. And what's left for Empoli, right? I mean, after that, it was just annihilation.
No, absolutely, man. Of the annihilation of the first degree.
Yeah.
This was.
They even hit the post from a corner shortly after.
Directly from a corner. Paredes.
Everyone was shooting from everywhere.
He knew what he was doing. Oh my days, I said Dybala hit the post from after a corner, but he actually hit it from a free kick. Apologies. I was in the... That's what happens when you're prepping the goal description for 7 goals, no?
Yeah.
Whilst trying to watch Calcio at the same time. And I had the 5-1 as well, bro. I had goals galore.
You did. I had 2-0.
Yeah, but that's pretty much
Dybala goal of the week contender, by the way.
Absolutely, yes, for sure, Dybala. But help me out here, bro. I don't know where to go with the talking points of this game because it's so. Me and Jake have a joke where it's like, that game's easy to cover. It's this team good, this team bad. And it's a bit of a running joke between us where we don't need to prep too hard for a game. But this is that essentially.
Empoli currently stand without an identity. Their offensive brand, their lovely style of football is not working whatsoever. And they're not defensively sound whatsoever at all. Not to mention that in certain moments they show a lack of experience and a little bit of naivety. You have the likes of Roma, who are an extremely street-smart unit. You have players like Brian Cristante and Mancini, and these guys, they're smart. They know how to get the most out of you. They know how to expose you, and they did that perfectly well this game. This was a game of cold celebrations, by the way, bro. Just one cold celebration after the next. And when it comes to your point about you don't know how to cover this Roma good, Empoli bad, I mean, it's pretty much the situation, because after the game the coach was sacked simply because Roma too good, Empoli too bad. 0 goals scored, 0 points gained in 4 games. It had to be done, and I hate seeing managers get sacked early on, but at this point you can't really blame the management. Zanetti hasn't given them anything this season. Granted, he's been good in previous seasons, and I do rate the manager. I think he's great, but he does struggle to motivate his players when things don't quite go their way, and this season has been a perfect example of that. He looks absolutely lost when he's added experience to his team, to be honest.
I mean, shadows last season, when he had to end up screaming 2 seasons ago, actually screaming at Henry, trying to get something out of him, because he
got a red card.
Yeah, he had
and he was calling him an idiot, essentially.
Absolutely, they were fighting relegation, and they were ahead in the game, where they were a draw, whatever. But that's an interesting point you bring up about Zanetti. Yes, he was sacked and he should be sacked if you can't score a single goal in the opening 4 games, and in the 4th game you're losing 7-0 to a struggling Roma team. That's not only that, but showing us absolutely nothing in those 4 games. The results are what the results are, but if they showed something, it could be a different story, but they showed absolutely nothing. And that leads me to the point about Zanetti, to say he's very highly rated, especially by other managers, by Serie A, by the culture. Everyone raves about him. Youngest manager in the league, very talented, plays a very offensive brand. I've never been wowed by his teams, bro. I really never have. I've never like when he stayed in Serie A after Venezia got relegated. Like, Venezia have a cool team. And to me, it's just like they did decently, but they got relegated anyway. Maybe a better manager would have had them stay up. I was surprised to see him stay on. He really didn't catch my eye in any miraculous way.
He had, with that Venezia team, he had a group of players who had never played in Serie A and had never played together. It was a newly built team.
Yeah, they finished one before the last.
Yeah, they finished one before the last, granted, but they did so playing quite an offensive brand and taking the game to many an opponent. Now remember who they had at the back, Venezia. I can't remember the other one, but Caldara was one of the centre-backs. Perhaps Ceccarini? I'm not sure.
Ceccarini could be. I think you're right. I think Ceccarini.
I can't quite remember who the other defender was. But they weren't great, you know. And even the fact that if you want to survive with a newly promoted team, you need to bring in players who have Serie A experience, you know. And that's what's surprising, because he managed to get people who had never played in the league before to perform to a certain level. Granted, Venezia didn't pick up many points, but they scored goals and they did put in good games. It's not the case with Empoli at all right now.
No.
He has all the experience in the world.
I think it's like I expected Empoli to have a bit of a shocker this year, but even these performances are like I had already set my standards quite low, and after watching them I hadn't set them low enough, kind of thing, because for a team that gets away with so many 1-pointers and so many 1-1 draws and this and that, fuck me does the team struggle to score goals, man. Yeah. Significantly. Yeah. And it almost seems like they used their budget to spice up areas that weren't spicy, right?
Yeah.
The wings, for example, bringing on Cancelleri, when maybe Giassi as well, when maybe what they should have been doing is making sure that they have one clear-cut striker that can set the standard for the other strikers.
Because in fact, that's the idea that sorry, I just kicked the table. That's the area that Zanetti tried to spice things up this game. He started Destro, hasn't started the game in ages, so he's lost faith in Caputo essentially. But it's not Caputo that's the problem.
Absolutely not. No, Caputo gets the players around him ticking.
The system doesn't quite work at the moment. We'll see what Andrea Azzoli can do. I'm confident it's going to be a better job than what Zanetti's done so far in the opening 4 games.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And that is the first manager sacked this season, guys. Just one more point. Romelu Lukaku looks like he could do some damage at Roma. It seems like he's in a system that could showcase his best abilities, his hold-up play, having a player that has great hold-up play and is good in the air and has good finishing next to Paulo Dybala is going to shine.
Yes.
Okay, he got 1 goal late on, but it's his first start. I think this team is quite similarly set up to, maybe a bit of a stretch, but tactically quite similar to Conte's 3-5-2 for Inter when it comes to the balance of players and what qualities the players had. Naturally, one is even offensive, one is defensive, but yeah. And I think Lukaku was shining in that system for a reason, and I think he'll shine here for a very similar reason as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, not much else left to say.
No, not at all.
Game. We can move on to Frosinone 4, Sassuolo 2. Yeah, Frosinone say indeed, as they record their first ever victory over Sassuolo with a stunning comeback from 2-0 down to win 4-2 as captain Luca Mazzitelli got himself a rare brace against his ex-team.
Mazzitelli, huh?
Oh,
Mazzitelli.
yes, what a performance. Now, Di Francesco was...
For the Renegades. For the Renegades.
One credit. Di Francesco was forced to give up Harui this game, who was out due to a blow he suffered in his foot in training. So yes, they were operating without their best midfielder, but didn't seem to be a problem as they have a Juve, Loni and Mazzitelli, former Sassuolo man. We'll see how they lined up completely. 4-4-2 for Di Francesco with Turati in goal, the ever impressive, fantastic young sensation Turati. Amazing. Keeper.
Yeah, very good keeper. Very good keeper.
Marchizza was out on the left, Oyono out on the right with Romagnoli and Monterisi at the back. Baez was out on the left with Berencea on loan from Juve and midfield. Mazzitelli partnered with him and Sule also on loan from Juve out on the right. Gelli and Khedira were up front. Now, for Sassuolo, it was also, according to this, a 4-4-2. Oddly enough, yes, and it makes perfect sense. Let me read it out. Perhaps a 4-2-3-1, I would say. Yes,
maybe.
4-2-3-1 makes more sense. Cranio was in goal with Toljan, Erlich, Tresoldi and Vigna at the back with Boloca and Henrique as the midfield double pivot. It was Bayrami playing in the trequartista position with Berardi out on the right, Lauriente on the left and Pinamonti up front. I think that's more accurate.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes Who Scored doesn't quite get it, does it?
Sponsor us, please.
Yes. So, in the 7th minute, Pinamonti produced a fine curling finish into the bottom right corner after Vigna had played him the ball. Pinamonti was off to a good start this season. In the 24th minute, he struck again, an even better finish this time. This time striking the ball on a half volley from outside the area. Perhaps that should have also been a goal of the week contender. I think every goal could have been a goal of the week contender.
Bangers only, in great quantity.
And just as we thought the first half was going to end with a 2-0 lead to Sassuolo, that could have potentially changed absolutely everything, because going into the second half thinking we need to score 2 goals to get a draw and 3 goals to win is a lot, but suddenly, you know, going into the second half with 1 goal, we're back in it. We can draw another goal, we can win it. In the 47th minute in the first half, Frosinone were given a penalty after a VAR check deemed that Ruan Tresoldi had fouled Walid Khedira, the on loan Napoli centre forward.
Tresoldi.
He stepped up. Tresoldi's so error-prone. He stepped up, the on loan Napoli man, Khedira, who was at Bari last season, to take the penalty, and he sent Alessio Cranio the wrong way, giving Frosinone a much needed lifeline. And suddenly, this is his first goal ever in Serie A. For Frosinone, he has scored in the Coppa, but this was his first goal in Serie A.
For Khedira,
yes. Suddenly, they're back in it, right? It's halftime. The second half proved to be quite a cagey affair. Sassuolo cautious that, an upset is on the horizon over here and they need to be very careful, while Frosinone were looming and they were like, we can definitely get something out of this. And in the 70th minute, they built on that goal with some early pressure. They found the equalizer through a stunning volley from captain Mazzitelli, who of course happened to be a former Sassuolo player. Crazy celebrations, 2-2. In the 76th minute, 6 minutes later, Mazzitelli could not believe his luck as his shot ricocheted into the back of the net. Just a few minutes after, 6 minutes literally after scoring his first goal for Frosinone and Serie A, and then suddenly he scores his second ever brace in his senior career. Mattias Sule on loan from Juventus almost added the 4th with 5 minutes of regulation time to go when his exquisite effort just clipped the outside of the post. Very close over there, very, very close. Khedira then had a goal ruled out for offside. He thought he had tapped home his second of the game, but before that, Frosinone he was ruled out for offside. He was in an offside position. And before that, Frosinone actually struck the woodwork through Luca Garritano, formerly of Chievo Verona. Garritano.
Okay.
Yes, cool player there. And then Turati turned hero late into injury time. The young goalkeeper made a world-class save to deny Sassuolo an equalizer.
Very, very, very good save.
Fantastic save.
Very good
Fantastic
save.
save of the week. If I have a save of the week, that's it. Before Paul Lirola, the Asian man's nightmare, wrapped up the points on the break after an unselfish pass from Khedira in the 95th minute. He spent 3 seasons at Sassuolo. Now he's scoring against them and celebrating for Frosinone.
Yeah,
now,
man.
bro. Yes. I want to start off by talking about Pinamonti, who opened the scoring and who had a great game this game, despite the lack of points for Sassuolo. He is their club record signing, 20 million from Inter. Could that prove to be worth it?
There's a lot of time. I think as well, we've all looked at Pinamonti. Before Sassuolo were relying on him as their starting striker, we could all identify his talent. We could all look at Pinamonti, especially at Empoli. And say, yeah, this kid's got something. He's a good goal scorer. He's a good target man in that sense. Good finish, good in the air, whatever. But I think Pinamonti moved to Sassuolo and embraced the fact that, okay, I'm going to be the starting striker for a lesser team rather than go for a better team where I can be a vice. Sure, he had his opportunities to do that. And if that means you're going to struggle for a season or so because you're finding your feet as a starting striker in a struggling team, that's obviously going to happen. You're obviously going to struggle. You're obviously going to look out of place. And that's what we saw in Pinamonti. Now, is this a run of good form? Or is it more of what we are going to be seeing from Pinamonti? That is the question.
Perhaps last season was a run of poor form.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. It's still early on in his career. He's only 24 years old. Nowadays, the career of a striker in particular can be quite long.
Absolutely.
Especially the type of striker he is, a target man, a fox in the box, a poacher. Displayed great technique this game. Where has this Pinamonti been? More of this, please.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The next talking point we are going to be discussing is when it comes to dangerous attacks. We noted that it was 53-46 in favor of Frosinone, who also dominated in terms of possession and successful passes. They absolutely pulled their weight this game and they played up to Sassuolo's level, and that's no easy feat because Sassuolo are quite a modern team. And scoring 4 against them and getting a victory as a newly promoted team is quite a tough task.
Completely. I think what explains that or sums that up rather is we all know that Frosinone move the ball upfield quickly, concisely, one-touch football, two-touch football.
Yes.
And
they're long ball to skip the midfield.
They're not scared. They attack from many different avenues. They truly are David and Goliath story. But what happens when they lose the ball? You've got all of those men that were attacking sprinting back like their lives depend on it. Yeah. Every single one, bro. Sprinting back, getting back in position.
Yes.
Put Pep City up against a team that track back with such fucking balls and with such power and they'll struggle against them. This isn't a joke of a team because, again, very, very fluid, very tactically disciplined, and they've got a lot of balls and they've got a lot of passion. Now, what happens when teams figure them out off the ball? That could be a different story because they don't have, as a newly promoted team, they don't have the versatility, they don't have the utility, they don't have what's the word I'm looking for? Substitutes.
No, the depth.
The depth to spice things up and to make them stronger. But they are looking with this starting 11 very strong. Man.
Yes,
very strong.
Totally. And I wanted to highlight an interesting battle that was happening was between Berenchea and Matias Henrique.
Okay.
Now, Matias Henrique is particularly effective in the possession phase of the game, and in that regard, he's much better than Berenchea. But off the ball, out of the possession phase, Berenchea proved to be extremely good for Frosinone.
Yeah,
you look at defensive
definitely.
duels won. If you compare the two players, you have 24 for Berenchea and 19 for Henrique. You look at total passes, okay, Henrique has more, 157 to 132, but then recoveries, for example, Berenchea had even more, 27 to 25.
Whoa.
So this is the kind of player that Sassuolo lack at the moment. A player who, out of the possession phase, can win them the ball back, can win
Absolutely.
one-on-ones, duels, a bit of bite to his game.
Yeah.
They don't have that.
Absolutely.
And they've lost two very useful midfielders in Maxime Lopez and Frattesi, and they're making do now.
Yep. Henrique and Bolocka isn't quite those two, I feel like. As well, they made an acquisition last season in towards Vet, who hasn't managed to cement his place yet into this team. I do see that midfield as a point of concern. Henrique, Bolocka, Bayrami just ahead of them, especially when you consider Locatelli, Frattesi in the past. So on and so forth. So I think that is an area where they really need to look at and solidify, because I do feel like that could be where they lost the game as well.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's that for me.
Amazing. The next game we're going to be covering is Monza 1, Lecce 1. Monza were coming off a 3-0 loss to Atalanta, whilst Lecce were coming off a 2-0 win to Salernitana. After remaining undefeated in 7 league matches in Serie B against Lecce, where they won 2 and drew 5, Monza have lost 3 of their last 4 games against them across Serie A and Serie B, where they drew 1. Di Gregorio and Ambrosio were injured for this match, so new signing Lorenzo Colombo made his Monza debut against his old club. When it comes to the lineups, it was a 3-4-2-1 formation for Monza. It was Sorrentino in goal, getting his debut because of Di Gregorio's injury, and the backline of Caldirola, Amari and Izzo, with Churia out on the left, Birindelli out on the right, and a double pivot of Gagliardini and Pessina, Caprari and Colpani flanking Lorenzo Colombo.
Not to be mixed up, by the way, the Sorrentino with the former one of Chievo, who was like 100 years old.
Super old guy, like 40,
21.
it was like 45 or some shit, and still playing.
With white hair. Like, I remember the opening game against Cristiano Ronaldo, he had a fantastic...
He saved his penalty.
He saved his penalty, that's it, yes.
It was a 4-3-3 for Lecce, with one of my favourite goalkeepers in the league, Falcone, in goal, and a backline of Jandre, Pongracic, Baschirotto and Gallo. They had Kaba, Ramadani and Raffia in the midfield, with Almqvist and Banda flanking Kristovic. In the 3rd minute, a clumsy pass by Sorrentino, who seemed quite nervous. It was far too short for Caldirola, who ended up dropping Almqvist to stop him from a clear goal-scoring opportunity. From the spot, Kristovic placed the ball into the top corner, sending Sorrentino the wrong way. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if that happens any time in the second half, it's a red card for Caldirola.
That was a bit sus, wasn't it?
You're fucking joking, like, bro. Now, sure, it was only 40 seconds in when the foul was made, but yeah, think of this, guys, if you didn't watch this. Goalkeeper out of position, gives a short pass. The ball is in the middle of the box, just begging to be tapped in. Almqvist goes to tap it in. Empty net. And Caldirola brings him down, through no fault of his own, naturally. Isn't that the denial of a clear goal-scoring opportunity where I could have scored me?
Yes. And the fact that he gave a yellow card means that he recognized the weight of and the severity of the situation, but probably deemed it too early for a red, which, again, I don't agree with particularly.
But I understand it.
I don't disagree with it, bro. Imagine for the spectator a red card so early on, you know what I mean?
Spectator, like I get you.
Yeah.
For the beauty of the game, not to ruin a game of football like that, but it's not you that's ruining it. It's the combination of Sorrentino to Caldirola that ruined it. But let me get through with the...
He got his red card eventually.
Yeah, exactly. 24th minute, Colpani got the equalizer for Monza. Yeah, it was great play by Monza. Colpani and his new teammate Colombo linked up well with a slick 1-2 before Colpani slotted in for his 3rd goal of the season. And actually, he has scored all of Monza's goals this
The
season.
new Augusto.
Literally.
He has a long way to go to be their all-time top scorer, Carlos Augusto. He's halfway there.
He's literally halfway there.
Goals.
Six goals.
In Serie A history is Carlos Augusto, of course, last season.
Can be Colpani very soon. He's showing that he's quite a
He's good, Colpani. I think he has a future with the Italian national team as well.
I think he does, man. The question is like, where do you play him? That as well. But where do you play him for the Italy national team? Is he a winger? Is he an attacking
He's
mid?
like
Is he
an
a central mid?
midfielder that has certain skill sets, offensive skill sets that other Italian players don't really have.
That's true.
Okay, granted, Frattesi can insert himself. Locatelli's not this type of player at all. He's
No.
not a creative, offensive player.
No.
Mention one who isn't a winger, because there's a myriad of wingers.
Yeah.
But when it comes to offensive-minded midfielders who can play a ball that splits the defense, or just have those creative qualities of a trequartista, there aren't many right now.
Yeah, Pellegrini, for example, can be one, but at the moment, not really. 55th minute red card, Baschirotto. Straight red for the Italian, actually. He got the ball in a sliding tackle, but he followed through with a bit too much of his studs showing. That's the ref's call, because yes, dangerous play. He won the ball. It clearly wasn't malicious, but the harm was done, and it's a red card. When I saw it, I didn't think it was, but hindsight is a crazy thing. And straight red card for Baschirotto. The ref did end up going to VAR to check, like, was I too quick to brandish the red card? But whenever I see a VAR check for, okay, is the contact significant or not, I typically expect the ref to go with his initial call, because he saw it in real time, not slowed down. 66th minute, Mota misses twice. His initial strike was saved by Falcone, and he sent the rebound just wide. Mota was firing everywhere except for the back of the net in this game. 69th goal, Carboni scored, but was deemed offside. The Italian took advantage of some commotion in the box, which ended in Carboni scoring a bicycle kick. However, Carboni only had one defender keeping him onside, excluding the keeper. When the initial shot was taken, that ended up falling to him. This makes him offside. As the rule states, naturally, that two players must be keeping you onside, which is typically the keeper and a defender. In this case, keeper was out of the equation, so he needed to have two defenders.
That's how you spot a football rookie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
someone was like,
people on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's offside. The guy's literally out of the pitch behind the barriers."
You heard that? What I accidentally hit. I accidentally hit this.
Today I feel gay.
A shout out to anyone celebrating Pride in Malta.
Yes.
Right now.
Today we all feel gay.
Today we all feel gay. In the 75th minute, and then a fantastic save by Falcone on Carboni, who couldn't catch a break in this game. He made himself big to deny a very, very close range strike. Fantastic goalkeeping there. Miracle goalkeeping by Falcone. 85th, Caldirola accumulated his second yellow card for tripping Piccoli. It was, yes, he had tripped Piccoli. Now, guys, we're going to speed through the talking points as well, because our episodes now need to be under 2 hours, and we've got 10 minutes left. So here we go. The brilliant run of Lecce continues as they remain undefeated in this season's campaign, currently sitting 4th in the standings with a 1-point lead over Napoli. What do you think of Lecce so far this season?
I love Lecce. They're absolutely amazing. D'Aversa has won Coach of the Month. I really like the way they're playing, and I think they have quite a bit to their game, to the point that they won't get completely figured out in the near future. Kristovic is the first ever Lecce player to have scored in his first 3 games for the club. So they've got a big player there who they believe in. They've got Banda, Angvist and Strefezza who offer depth on the wings, and they've got quite a few interesting midfielders as well who can put in a shift, not to mention their solid defence with Umtiti going out and Pongracic proving to be an adequate replacement for them over there. Lecce are a tough side. Lecce are solid. Let's see how they cope without Baschirotto on the next game, because he has a 1 game back.
Yeah. They secured a point against Monza, a team that, as explained by Gagliardi, before the match, will find it challenging to surprise their opponents this season. Here's what he said.
Who said this?
Galliani.
Oh.
This is what he said. Our rivals know us. it will be tough to replicate last year's journey when we secured 52 points and were the best newly promoted team in the top 5 European leagues. What do you think of Galliani's statement? Do you think there'll be more figured out this year?
I do agree with him. There's a whole season of tape left. In pre-season, they would have been studied. I mean, teams that didn't pick up points against them last season. Inter. Or was it Juve? Inter, I think Inter is.
Inter definitely lost at some point against
Monza. They have a lot more tape to study, and Monza are worse, quite frankly. I mean, having Birindelli playing, who played in Serie B, instead of Carlos Augusto, who became their all-time top scorer last season from the full-back position. Everything went through him, so they're rediscovering themselves. They're getting more goals through other avenues, like Colpani has been incredible. Gagliardini is settling, but he's putting in a few good shifts. So,
yeah, he's good. He makes the team tick, man.
I agree with Galliani. I do think it's going to be tougher for Monza this season. Even the fact that they have a new owner and they're not quite sure what kind of team they are at the moment. Because before this owner, they had Berlusconi, who we've all seen what he can do. Now they have the owner of Leeds, and we've seen what he can do as well.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Absolutely, man. And shout out to D'Aversa for Lecce, by the way. Did not expect him to have this start, but power to him because he really has had this start. The next game we're going to be covering is Salernitana 0, Monza 3, saving the nils for the end. Salernitana coming off a 1-1 draw at home to Udinese, whilst Torino were coming off a 4-1 loss to Milan. Torino have remained undefeated in all 7 Serie A matches against Salernitana, where they won 5 and drew 2. They've only faced Mantova more without ever losing in the competition, where they had 14 matches won against them. Well, 14 matches undefeated, rather. Dia was in the stands for this match. He was previously in France, and he hadn't travelled back to Italy following the international break. However, now any beef apparently that there was is squashed, and he will be back in the team in the near future. We'll see if he plays this weekend. 3-4-2-1 formation for Salernitana, Ochoa on goal and the backline of Pirola, Gyomber and Lovato, Bradaric on the left, Mazzocchi on the right, midfield 2 of Legowski and Bohinen, Cabral and Kandreva playing behind Botman. 3-4-2-1 as well for Torino, with Vania on goal and the backline of Shures, Bongiorno and Rodriguez, Bellanova on the right, Lazaro on the left with Ricci and Tamez in the middle, and Dembasek and Radonjic flanking Zapata. In the 15th minute, Bongiorno, the centre-back, Torino becoming somewhat of a Torino legend, turning down so many moves to Atalanta, for example. He got very close to joining because he wanted to stay at Torino and he wants to become a legend of the club. He opened the scoring in the 15th minute. He swept the ball into the back of the net after the ball fell to him after a few deflections off of a corner. 41st minute, Radonjic made it 2 as he curled the ball into the bottom corner, from distance. In the 47th minute, still in the first half, Cabral smacked the post on the counter-attack after a square ball by Kandreva, Salernitana getting close over there. However, then the 50th minute, shortly after the break, Radonjic made it 3. It was some good play between Bellanova and Sek down the wing, which ended up with Bellanova squaring the ball to Radonjic, who only just managed to beat Ochoa, who got a significant hand to the strike. In the 58th minute, Radonjic got his hat-trick, but was denied for being in an offside position. Jake has him on our Fantacalcio League, so you're quite disappointed with that.
No, he saved my life.
Huh?
He saved me.
Of course, you beat Chesko because of him. You made a great video about it.
Thanks, you can find it on Instagram. It's hilarious.
76th minute, Radonjic had the miss of the season. Zapata tackled Fazio in the defensive area and squared the ball to Radonjic, who had an open goal, but he barely swung his foot and scuffed the ball totally over the bar. High, wide, not at all handsome. It was barely going forward, the ball, man. It looked like he didn't care. Just a bit laxy-daisy, I think, man. 82nd minute, there was a great save by Vania off of a Fazio header. That was the game for you. Salernitana are in trouble now. 4 matches, they haven't gotten a win yet. They're on 2 points and they have 2 defeats on the trot. What do you think of them?
Yes, I do think they're in trouble, but they do have their best player coming back, so it's only uphill from here. Nice to see that all qualms have been squashed between the club and Dia. We'll see if it's true, because it's easy to say it, but we'll see how he performs on the pitch, if he's constantly flailing his arms around and complaining. But I do think a profile like Dia up front will give them a lot of confidence to attack, and
Yeah.
it will give teams less confidence to attack Salernitana, because
Exactly.
right now you attack Salernitana, who's going to hit you on the break? There aren't many people. You can think Andreva, you've done most of the work. Then you have Koulibaly, you have to keep an eye on, but the other players aren't fantastic, you know what I mean? If they have Dia up front, you have to be careful when you attack them, because on the counter they can totally devastate you with a player who's a natural born finisher in Boulaye Dia.
Yeah, and I think Torino, because of that reason, not having Dia on the team, being quite a bit too cautious when it comes to attacking, Torino seemed to dominate the game without too much effort. It seemed like when they got the goals, they just had to take it back a notch. But they even had the opportunity to try new things. Radonjic basically bagged the hat-trick, so it was very, very, very comfortable for Torino, who have climbed the standings and currently share 5th place with Napoli, Frosinone and Fiorentina. On Sunday, they will host Roma, who will face them with a 3-point advantage. So Roma are just 3 points ahead of them.
The best team Juric has ever had, and they're performing pretty well.
Yes.
How much time do I have for the nil-ins?
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'll just power through them very, very quickly. Thank you for listening, guys, if I don't make it till the end. Verona 0, Bologna 0. It was a game which featured many a long-range shot, particularly from Carlson of Bologna, who had quite a few, even smacked the post from range. Zirkzee played very well. Ndoye got quite close to scoring. Fabian missed a massive chance at the end of the game. He would have scored his second goal in his second appearance, the youngster. When he missed a header, he headed the ball over the bar at the very end. Something that he could learn from Provedel over here. This was a tight game, loads of shots, very tight. Neither team could quite penetrate over here. Zirkzee looked very good, that's what I'm going to point out. And Cagliari 0, Udinese 0 just had that little lack of quality in a situation where the defenses were a bit too tight for the offensive plans. Luvumbo tried to create. He's everything for this Cagliari team. He was absolutely everywhere. He even hit the post over here, terrorizing the defense on his own. Quite frankly, where's the help? You know, his Pavoletti starting next to him, and then he's subbed off for Petagna. He's like, give this Luvumbo guy a break, poor guy.
Yeah.
But they did pretty well, Cagliari, to hold Udinese, who are a tough side to hold them with Biol, Cabasele and Neon Perez at the back, and Silvestri, who organizes them ever so well. That was a 0-0 over there. Lorenzo Lucca had a few nice flicks, but a massive miss at the end. Deola had a massive miss, and you can multiply that by 4 because he actually missed 4 clear-cut opportunities. Deola, terrible game for him. And Thuvan leaves a lot to be desired as well.
Yeah, I think in the case of the Cagliari-Udinese game, both teams left a lot to be desired in the final third, which subsequently had led to the 0-0. Cagliari focusing more on getting a point, and Udinese kind of still a little bit of a mess with all these new players around the team, whilst Verona Bologna, on the other hand, was quite a good display by Verona, who denied Bologna to get the 3 points over there, because Bologna did go into this match as favourites. But sorry, we couldn't go into these 2 matches in more depth, guys, but we currently have 10 seconds left, so we will be bidding you adieu. We'll be paying more attention to you guys' questions next week, and we will see you next week.
Love you.
Love you.